Hey, nerds. So, I'm going to talk about this recent news I just heard about. My boy, JBP, who's my favorite person to criticize. Unfortunately, he just recently we just found out from his daughter on Twitter that he's fighting a new health setback. He was diagnosed with a rare disease. And of course, I think he's a fucking crackpot and his ideas are insane. But I wouldn't wish that anyone suffers from a rare disease unless he's doing fucking awful shit. And he's supporting Trump, who is doing some pretty fucking awful shit, but he's not doing it himself. So I don't think he deserves that. But anyway, this is we're gonna get into this brief article here. Jordan Peterson taking time off to fight new health setback, according to his daughter. This is a little bit interesting. Canadian psychologist, best-selling author, and media commentator, or pseudo-intellectual crackpot and former clinical psychologist, as I say, because he lost his credentials because he wouldn't take some 15-minute little woke sensitivity training course, which is dumb, but he could have just taken it. Anyway, so for medical reasons, according to his daughter, JBP's taking some time off of everything, wrote podcast host and CEO of Peterson Academy.
Yes, Peterson Academy teaches you all the most important information in the world, just like basically my most narrow interpretation of Christianity possible. And like climate change bad and vaccines bad.
Anyway, hey guys, Jordan Peterson is taking some time off of everything. I won't do an impression of her while I'm reading this serious shit. He's diagnosed with CIRS, chronic inflammatory response syndrome, due to a genetic predisposition that causes the immune system to have an inability to identify and detoxify mold/bacteria in indoor air. She says her father, sometimes columnist for National Post, has been diagnosed with a condition known as chronic inflammatory response syndrome. I bet most people haven't heard of this. So, or CIRS, and that it results in an immune deficiency that inhibits identifying and detoxifying indoor mold and bacteria. So this is what some people mistake for so-called inflammation sometimes, which is such an ambiguous concept that it can mean anything, like brain fog, inflammation. What does it mean? Do you feel kind of bad after you eat something? Apparently that's inflammation. But most people don't actually have inflammation. I used to believe in that too, but they don't. And a lot of this shit about, is
carnivore diet, I only eat meat, you don't eat vegetables.
Maybe that reason that diet is apparently working for him is because he has a rare disease. So the carnivore diet isn't going to be good for most people. So, and I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if some of the factors due to this illness are related to his stupid fucking diet. But anyway, so they get into how this was caused recently, too. Recently, he was exposed to a particularly moldy environment while helping clean out this is Michaela talking again, while helping clean out my grandfather's house after he passed away, which severely flared symptoms. His symptoms flared up a lot when he was moving boxes in her grandfather's moldy house. He's really been suffering from this badly since 2017. We just didn't know what it was called, she wrote. Yeah, so it was
bad inflammation from vegetables,
but actually it was a rare disease. Makes a lot more sense. This is the latest health setback for Jordan Peterson, 62, who fought to beat a benzodiazepine addiction in 2019. Yeah, in terms of all Jordan Peterson's self-help advice, some of it is good, but a lot of the shit he says is dumb, and I'm often reminded of, Rustin Cole, aka Russ, played by Matthew McConaughey in season 1 of True Detective, which is like the best show of all time, season 1 alone anyway. Russ says, when people give advice, I figure they're talking to themselves. Yeah, so, if you really look carefully at Jordan Peterson's self-help advice, a lot of it is just him talking to himself and getting him advice that he seems to need, right? But anyway, so he's this self-help advice guy, and then he's addicted to benzos, and then he's doing all this work and advocating for this weird diet. And I'm not saying he's suffering these health consequences due to it, but it could be a factor because it's not good. Or like I said, if it works for him, it's because he has this rare disease that he didn't know about until recently. So the self-help guy is addicted to benzodiazepines and then eats a carnivore diet and then ends up sick. But, he obviously already had the disease probably too. So anyway, she continues. After Peterson's addiction, or the article continues, I should say. After Peterson's addiction struggles were revealed, he announced he had developed akathisia. That sounds like a self-diagnosis, and he's not a medical doctor, so I'm not sure I buy that. But maybe he did get diagnosed with it, and it is just as mentioned in this article. I don't know. So he announced he had developed akathisia, I think that's pronounced, a condition which can cause restlessness, mental distress, and an inability to sit still. That's a condition? That just sounds like, being a person, having ADHD or something. I don't know. Anyway, however, his daughter said that this isn't an aspect of the present setback. Oh, the akathisia. She wrote on X, aka Twitter. I'm not calling it X. That's stupid. Elon sucks. To be crystal clear, this isn't about akathisia or medication. He's not on any medication. It's an immune system dysfunction. So she's going, listen, guys, don't worry. He's not addicted to benzos and going through withdrawal again. It's just a disease. Don't worry. Anyway, so conservative leader of Conservative Party, Pierre Poilievre, who's a douchebag, who's a cuck to Trump also, which is why he lost the election recently. Anyway, conservative leader Pierre Poilievre of Canada, obviously, has wished Peterson well. In a post to X on Saturday, he wrote, praying for a swift recovery, adding, the world needs his prodigious mind and solid principles now more than ever, or his fucking dumb mind and not solid at all principles. But yeah, I wish him a swift recovery too, although I don't pray, but if you want to pray, go ahead. Anyway, as a result of this setback, Peterson said her father is pausing the Daily Wire podcast that she co-hosts with him. Yes, this giant of intellectual thought does a podcast on Daily Wire, the, by design, self-described conservative pundit website. Anyway, not that there's anything wrong with that, but he claims to, be all smart, but he's really just partisan, like a lot of people. Anyway, he's also canceling a speaking engagement in Brazil. So he's canceling all his writing and speaking engagements and all of his work on his podcast and stuff. So in lieu of these engagements, Michaela pointed followers to YouTube, specifically her father's episodes of a new call-in Q&A show, Answer the Call.
Answer the call. Let's make it sound religious.
Which the two of them recorded before he got ill. He's very excited to put this out. Helping people is what he enjoys the most. That's why he does what he does. I'm not sure I buy that, but if that's good, if that's true, then that's good. Meanwhile, she asserted that CIRS is not generally recognized by the medical profession. Although I have a cousin who's a doctor who I've heard from it before. It's rare, but it is recognized. She just doesn't like the medical establishment, and neither is Jordan Peterson.
They're profiting and corrupt and stuff.
I don't think this is true. Maybe they were told that by a bad doctor. Anyway, the fact that this is the cause behind our food sensitivities, even they're admitting it. So they're advocating for this carnivore diet. How many millions of people are in the carnivore diet because they were telling everyone to do what they do? The overwhelming majority of these people who are on the carnivore diet, due to their advice, do not have this rare condition. So they're going to suffer health consequences that Michaela and Peterson? Yeah, Michaela and Peterson. I almost just called him Peter. They're going to suffer consequences that they did not suffer. So that's irresponsible. But anyway, the fact is that this is the cause behind their food sensitivities and inability to tolerate anything other than meat for 8 years now. Eat nothing but meat for 8 years. That seems like a really bad idea. Multiple disorders and diseases in my family, and is virtually unrecognized by the medical community, is absurd, she wrote. Just like the medical system didn't recognize ketogenic diets as a treatment for mental disorders 10 years ago, and still most doctors don't. Okay, I was on the ketogenic diet for a long time. I recently learned that science is more complex than that, and there were a lot of claims that have not actually been substantiated by science, and it works to help you lose weight, but it's hard to gain muscle mass on it if you're trying to gain muscle mass, and it helps you lose weight because you're just eating less calories because you're fasting and shit, or if you're doing intermittent fasting as I did. But anyway, there's nothing inherently wrong with the ketogenic diet, but the important point is that if it helps you physically, there's zero fucking evidence that the ketogenic diet helps with mental health disorders, and there's sure as fuck no evidence at all that the carnivore diet helps with mental health disorders. That is bullshit. Look up actual studies. Don't just listen to what these idiots say. But anyway, just like Dr. Peterson's, although he's not actually a doctor anymore because he got his credentials removed, Dr. Peterson's psych med withdrawal wasn't recognized 5 years ago, and still more doctors don't recognize it. Who doesn't recognize it? That was the whole reason behind his health concerns. She's full of shit. Or she's been misinformed. Anyway, she concluded her Twitter message with, "Thank you for the understanding. Prayers are appreciated." And blah, blah, blah. That's basically the end of it. So, yeah, some bullshit in there as usual. But even though Jordan Peterson is one of my favorite people to make fun of and he's an idiot, I don't think that he deserved to suffer from a rare disease. So, fuck his ideas, but I hope he gets better because, even though I think he has bad ideas, he's fun to make fun of. And anyway, so Jordan Peterson is dumb, but I hope he gets better.